Can you believe that? Can you believe that? I just spent over 1 hour recording my video without hitting the record button on my application. I did all the, the lights test and the sound test and everything, the checks and everything. So I decided it was okay, I was going to be recording, and I went right on without hitting the record button. So that's the second take. So hello again everyone for the second time, for the first time for you. Welcome to my very small YouTube channel about knitting. My name is Isabell. I am in France. I have 3 sons and now I have 3 cats who are living in the house. Some have said it's related. And I'm filming these videos in English because I miss my English very, very much. I used to live in the United States, but that was over 32 years ago. And I don't have that many opportunities to be talking in English any longer. So you are my own opportunity once a week, and for today, twice a day, to be practicing my English. And if my mistakes, my hesitations, and my accent do not bother you too much, and if you are interested into knowing what I've been working on, what are my finished objects, and what are my plans, please stay tuned. Of course, I forgot to wear my shawl that was in the What Am I Wearing segment and in the Finished Object segment. So be it. So be it. In the What I Am Wearing today, I'm wearing my dotted rays. The dotted rays, I had a lot of time in my hands to be knitting when I was at my mother's, because we went for one day to visit a mohair farm. It was about 1 hour away from her, and I'm going to be attaching here the video and linking the video down below. But for the rest of the week, she's not moving any longer. She stays at home and everything. So I had a lot of time during the day and a lot of time during the evening to be knitting on the shawl. So the Dotted Rays by Stephen West, I knit with Polworth yarn by Tandai, and Rosemary gifted me with this yarn at the end of last year when it was my birthday. I'm seeing, yeah, I'm showing you the right side. A delicious, I think it's the proper adjective. I don't like when people talk about yarn like if it was food or something else, but it's a delicious yarn. This is an exception for that yarn. Polworth and silk, it's fingering weight. She gifted me with 2 skeins, 200 grams or a bit over 200 grams. And I had decided I was going to knit about everything I had. So I'm going to be standing up to show you the shawl because I knit, I'm not sure I recall, half a repeat or a repeat and a half more than the small size. Okay, so there you have it. That's the beginning, that's the beginning of the shawl right here. That's right here. And then you knit and knit and you work short rows with, and you make the little eyelets. And what is really nice with that shawl is that you can knit as much as you want. There are 2 sizes, a large one and a small one. And I think I knit half a repeat more than the small size. Because I really wanted to knit every single bit of that yarn. And I also, so I chose that pattern because it's easy to adjust to the yarn quantity you have. Of course, the cast off is not on an eyelet, is not, I think the cast off is here, is not on the eyelet section. You should cast off here. Or right after an eyelet, but you know, I knit that much more, and you can really easily adjust the shawl to the yarn quantity you have, and you work short rows and eyelets. So, so there is the recipe you follow. And so that was one reason why I wanted to knit that pattern. I had it in my queue for a long time. I really wanted to knitting it, and I had in mind a striped version, and originally I thought about using the mohair that she sent me along with that yarn, but I decided just to go with the plain Polworth yarn, which is a pleasure to be knitting with and a pleasure to wear. One thing is, so that's the cast off edge. Once I, or is it here? No, it's on that side, yeah. Once I had decided I was going to be casting on, I had eyeballed how much yarn was left. As I was at my mother's, I could not weigh how much one row was eating up using yarn, because she did not have a scale that was precise enough to do that. So I kind of eyeballed and I lost that yarn chicken. I had enough to go about that much. You see here, it's another yarn that I finished the I-cord with. So I went back home, and I had not enough yarn to finish my I-cord cast off. Of course, I-cord take a lot of yarn, so yeah, maybe I was I made a mistake about eyeballing how much I had left to be casting off. The thing is, when I went home, I tried to decide whether I was going to use a yarn that would be of the same weight and a different color, or a yarn that would maybe be a different weight but the same color. And the first thing I had in mind, because I brought it here, is that yarn from Lenal West. It's the yarn by made with the ship from Cotentin. I'm going to attach here also the video where I talk about this yarn. But as you can see here, they are not the same color. The undyed wool from the Normandy ship is much creamier. It has a cream component into it. It's much more yellow than the Polworth that is quite white compared to it. So I was thinking, I don't want that. You can see that there is a bit of a different color in some part of the shawl, even though I think I could have gone with that one, because once you have it wrapped around you, it's kind of hidden anyway. The second thing is, I decided not to finish the cast off with a very different colored yarn. I could have. It could have been like a design element. Nobody would have known I was missing a few centimeters, or 50 centimeters of yarn before to cast off. And I really debated into my head whether, and I procrastinated a bit over that, am I going to cast off with a red or blue or something gray, very different color, or am I trying to match the color? I decided I wanted to match the color. So it's a bit more thick. The thickness of the yarn I chose is not the same. You can see it here. But it's a pretty good match for the color. And when it's stretched out, you almost do not see that it's not the same yarn. What you can see is the difference is it's a bit more hairy, because you've seen me knit with that yarn for my children, hats and beanies and scarves and things like that. This is the yarn my mother gave me last summer or 2 summers ago. And but it's a pretty good match, and I think that once you have it wrapped around, you don't see it. I guess and you do not even see that there is at some point here a different colored yarn, a different thickness, a bit more hair, so it's a bit more hairy. So yeah, I decided to go that way and not make a different color here. So there you have it. I need the whole thing, most of the whole thing, when I was with her. I'm not sure I recall if I cast it on when, or if I had cast it on beforehand. I think I had cast it on. I will have to check. But anyway, I need the whole thing when I was with her, and I even need more than that. The shawl is a delight. It's very soft. It doesn't really go well with my blouse today, but it's very soft, it's light, and it's a luxury yarn, I think. And Rosemary made a luxury present to me, and I'm very happy I need that, because that one pattern, because that was the other reason I guess I forgot to mention. She chose that pattern to knit some of the yarn I had sent her last year. So yes, I was also very happy to be twinning with her over that pattern with the yarn that she sent to me. So yeah, I'm very happy. I'm happy I knit that one, and I'm recommending that pattern. If you do enjoy miles and miles and miles of knitting, of knit stitches, I did. It was a mindless knit, and not at all what I'm knitting on right now. But yeah, it was a very enjoyable knit, and when I was at my mother's. Okay, so I hope you're not hearing my tummy too much. Because I'm very hungry. I should be eating right now, and I'm going to work right after that. So okay, let's make that a bit quicker than I am used to. What is on my needles now? What are my work in progress? My works in progress. The first one is a UFO, an unfinished, or unfinished? No, a missing finished object. Or let me check. Yes, a UFO, an unfinished object. I cast that on in November 2022. It was on November 20th, 2022. With that yarn that my son, Paulin, and his girlfriend gifted me for my birthday. The yarn, and let me get the two balls I still have that are not, that I have not used yet. The yarn is Woolly by DMC Yarn. It's a fingering weight. It's superwash merino. In that one, light lilac color that is quite trendy right now. So I told them, you are very trendy right now. And that sunflower color that they paired together, and so they had told me, we do not have to knit the two of them together. You can choose to do, of course, choose to do whatever you want to do with it. But I really liked the idea of pairing these two ones, even though the result would be quite low contrast, or maybe the yellow take precedence or take over the lilac. But anyway, I wanted something to knit with the two colors together. So I decided to knit the double knit gingham neck warmer by Gabriella Papale. It's I'm gonna link it down below. It's free on her blog. And this double knit Cowl here is something that I wanted to knit for a long time. I wanted to knit a double knit something for a long time. So there you have it. And I also wanted to knit some gingham type of pattern for a long time. And so in the pattern, she's using black and white. So in the gingham, you know, in one row, you have the white, that is the plain squares are white, and you have the matching the next squares that have the two colors together, and the next row you have the other color on the plain squares. Here it's the black one, and next to it the little one stitch color work. So you mix double layer knitting with color work. So why be simple when I can be complicated? If I have to summarize this project, is why be simple when you can be quite complicated? So I cast it on, and on November, after they gifted the yarn to me, I cast it on. And the first one big difficult thing was an I-cord cast on. I like the look and the finish of it, it's quite nice, but it was a real pain to cast on. It took me forever to cast on. But anyway, so you start, it's a free pattern, so I'm not giving anything away. You cast on with an I-cord cast on, and then I'm not sure I recall, yeah, you knit one row, and the second row you double the stitch number so that you can have both the stitches for both the inside and the outside. And then once that's done, you start knitting. So when there is a color block here, that means all for the outside, and I don't think there is a real inside or outside except for the way the I-cord is facing. So on one side, let's say the outside, you knit one every other stitch with one color, and you purl one every other stitch with the other color so that it's knit in the inside. Do you follow me? For the alternate, and you see it's a bit low contrast here, to alternate here you work with two stitches. So you both knit and purl, or purl and knit with one color, so that there is one color stitch on the inside and the outside, and then you move to the other color and you knit and purl. So knit for the outside and purl for the inside, so that you have all knit stitches both on the outside and on the inside. And then after you completed one segment, you move to the next color block here, and you alternate a color block with a matching, a color block here with a matching alternate stitch colors, and then where you have one stitch of every color, you alternate with the other color block. It took me one motif and a half to find the process where I can enjoy knitting it, and it's why it took me very long. It was at the first color work row for 3 months, over maybe 3 months, yes, until I brought it to my mother's, and then as I had finished that shawl, I was thinking, yeah, I brought that one, and I need to be kicking up and working with that. It took me a lot of trials and errors. Of course, I have these little rings to help, that are supposed to be helping you knit with color work on one finger. I can't use that. I'm not sure how it doesn't work for me. I have two rings of two different diameters, None of them work for me. I can do that. There is a fly in the house, and I'm afraid the cats are going to be quite noisy with the... So I was, I'm a picker, I think that's what it's called, and this is my right hand, and I'm using the yarn in my right hand. I can't have yarn in my left hand. I tried many times with the easier project. I can't work with my left hand. My stitches are twisted, and to not have them twisted, the movement is not intuitive, and I haven't learned. I can't learn it. I've tried many times. So what I settled with, and I kind of find it by accident, is have both yarn on my finger. The tip of the finger is the one I have most control on, rather than the middle part or the later part of the finger. So I'm placing the color that I need to purl in the blocks. So it's not going to be a good demonstration, and I'm not going to film a tutorial because I can't show you what I'm doing with yarn in my left hand, and I don't want to show it only to people who are have a formal tutorial only for people who need with yarn on the right hand. But anyway, when you have a color block here, from the outside it's a unit, but for the inside you need to purl. So I place the color of the yarn that I need to purl on the tippity top of my finger, because this is where I have more control. And then if I need to purl, I change the yarn position on the needle, and either I knit or I purl. So I was saying it's not going to be a good demonstration because, you know, here I finished my color block, so I need to go to the alternate colors. So with the alternate colors, you need 2 stitches of the same color. One stitch you purl, so I need to be careful here because I need to be helped with the one that is on the later part of my finger, and then you knit. I'm not sure you're seeing anything. Then you knit the one color, and then you go the other way around, and then you purl the next color, and you knit the next color. Doing that way, I can, in one sitting, if I sit for half hour to 45 minutes, I can knit about half a repeat. So that's enough for me to be thinking I can knit it, because I'm not a process knitter. Definitely not. I'm a product knitter. So I want the finished object. Yes, I like the cowl. Yes, I like the color combination. Yes. The low contrast is fine to me, and I want to finish it that way. And if in one sitting and can do half of a repeat, it's enough for me. I'm not sure if I'm clear, but anyway, that's quite of a mind-boggling project. It's not too much TV knitting. I can TV knit with that because I can easily read my knitting. And at some point, I had to unravel 4 or 5 stitches for 3 or 4 rows, and I could work it back on because it's once you understand how it works, it's not difficult. You have to remain focused, but as you can read your knitting, it's not very difficult. And of course, to help me, I place stitch markers on each side of each section so that I know that on that one section I'm going to be alternating on every stitch, and on that one section I'll be alternating every 2 stitches to have the little alternate color pattern here. So I'm happy with that project now. I think I'm going to be finishing it in some time, whatever time. And what I like with the double layer is that sometimes wool does not stop wind, and I think it's this double layer is gonna help stop wind. And I have, you know, 2 other balls, and you know, I made, it's 5 repeats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, 5 repeats. So I have made 3 repeats. This is what I have left. So I guess I can make it longer than what the pattern calls for. And I'll see once I finished knitting the first 2 balls where I am, or the first 5 repeats where I am, how it sits on me, and if I go longer with a longer project than what the pattern calls for. Yeah, so that's gonna be very happy colors for the next winter time. So next, another project that I'm knitting with yarn that was a gift. So I'm knitting this wagtail. I had the band here. Yeah, it's here, sorry. This wagtail mohair, it's lace mohair, and it's the variegated cyan colorway that Rosemary gave me for my birthday. At first I was thinking maybe I would mix the polewart with the mohair to do the dotted rays, but after I swatched with the polewart alone, I said no, the polewart is gonna be remaining on its own. So I have several balls of mohair. This was 100 grams of the variegated mohair, and I have plain colored ones that she sent to me too. And I'm knitting the powder puff Cowl that you can have. You can buy the Cowl, the pattern on their website, and they give it to you also when you buy yarn from them. And I'm not sure. Yeah, it's Branka Medlock who made this this pattern, and it's made with that very. The pattern was designed with that very mohair. So I'm knitting, and I have to say that I had let go and I did not fix it the first time I recorded. I'm knitting so the powder puff Cowl with the variegated cyan colorway. So it's a double, another mind-boggling project, because it's very difficult for me to read my knitting with mohair and lace pattern. Okay, so I help myself once again with stitch markers that are on each side of each repeat. And you have sort of, if I do that, maybe you can see, sort of a column that goes up that you knit, and with eyelets on either side of the column, and then another part where you alternate knitting stitches together and making up stitches. So it's not a difficult pattern, but it's less TV knitting than the one I'm knitting with the DMC yarn, the Gingham Cowl, because it's more difficult for me to be reading my knitting, and it's complicated for me to see when I make mistakes. So I need to count. There are that many repeats on the pattern. It's a two rows pattern. It's not complicated to memorize. I did memorize it very quickly, but I need to count, because on every type of row I know that at that stitch count I should be doing that. And there are 2 places I have in my mind where I should be doing this for one of the row types, and the other one, there is one place only where I need to be landing on, and if I land on there, I'm good. But I need to count. That means it's not TV knitting at all, or it's TV knitting that I did a lot with my mother, and I did a bit since I've been back, because she watches things that I'm not very much interested into, so I'm escaping into my head, and I could count my stitches. So yeah, I'm very happy with that project too. even though I'm not sure you can see much right now because of the variegated and because of the fact that it's mohair, but I guess you will be able to see better, and I'm losing my stitch markers. You will see better once it blocks out. I think it's going to be blocking out beautifully. Once again, I'll see if I need the recommended length or if I do differently depending. You need 30 grams of mohair, and this was 100 gram a 100 gram skein, so I have way enough. I may need longer so that I can fold it over and bunch it up a bit more, because it looks on some of the pictures, this one it's folded over, but on some of the pictures it looks like it's gonna be a bit more open, so I'll see for how long I need with that. But for now, not a TV project, not a series project, but a project that I'm enjoying much. Okay, so that's it for my works in progress. Onyx is on the table. Not sure if he's gonna come see us in front of the camera. Ah, you see the top of his hair. Are you curious, my dear? So that's it for my works in progress, and I thought I would have casted on after I came back from my mother's, but I did not cast on yet. It's a vest I want to cast on with that yarn from that very rustic yarn from Normandy. So this is the cream, the undyed color, the cream color. They say white, but it's cream. And this is the same yarn I knit my Highland Thistle sweater with a natural grayish brown or brownish gray color that are with all the light and dark fleeces. So it's undyed too. And so I've settled on the Emsworth by Isabell Kraemer. I've had this pattern in my library for over a year now, and I've been wanting to be knitting a vest for a very, very, very long time. So I chose to knit that pattern, even though it's going to be off gauge, because I think if I recall correctly, gauge is 24 stitches with what kind of needles? 3mm needles. So I will have to swatch again because I was at 19 stitches for the Highland Thistle sweater, and I think it was 3.5 or 3.75 millimeter needles. So I'll have to check, and most probably gauge swatch again, because I rarely gauge swatch, even mostly when I'm knitting with new yarn or new to me yarn, or as now with another needle size. But anyway, I'll see if I keep the needle that was recommended for the yarn, or if I go down and if I adjust. But anyway, I will be knitting the Emsworth. So the lace pattern you have in the front, you have it also in the back. And I like this pattern very much because it's a construction I like. You start with the shoulder stitches. So you cast on the shoulder, you knit for each side for a bit for the back, and then you join the two and you knit down to the armhole for the back, and you do the same for the front, and then you join and knit in the round. That means if your shoulder width or if your armhole width is not the perfect one designed for in the pattern, it's not the standard, because you have broader shoulders or smaller shoulders or a bigger bust or bigger arms or smaller arms. That means you can adjust your own top of the garment to your own measurements, and then you knit in the round for the rest of the body. So you can also adjust here if you're continuing in pattern with the stitch counts in pattern or not. And this one is going to be easy to modify because you see on either side you have stockinette, so it's going to be very easy to be able to modify the stitch count at that level. So this is what I'm going to be doing. And yes, at first I was thinking I was going to be knitting with the brown yarn, but as I've already one brown garment knit with the brown gray brown yarn from Normandy, I'm going to be using the white one. The second thing I wanted a vest. I've been knitting a vest for a very long time, and with the white. I've seen pattern, but it's with bulky yarns, so I have to look again. It's a kind of a vest, but you need a front and a back. You knit that separately, and then there are ties on either side so that you can adjust the vest to the dress or to the blouse or whatever or the other sweater you're wearing underneath. And I like that idea very much, and all of the patterns I found, but I haven't looked that closely, were for bulky yarn, and I don't want to knit 2 or 3 strands or 4 strands of this yarn, especially as they have bulky weight yarn in Laine West. So if I do not find any pattern with that kind of thing, I'm sure that one I can come up with that, just knowing what my shoulder size is, what my armholes are, and I'm sure I can even knit straight and then tie it on the side. I'm sure I can come up with something. But anyway, I've been wanting to be knitting the Emsworth for quite a long time now. So Emsworth it's gonna be, and my plan is to cast on this weekend. So you're gonna see this video on Friday, so maybe tomorrow as you see the video, if you're seeing it on Friday, or at least the weekend close to when I post the video. Yeah, so that's my plan. I did not bring the cone to my mother's, and as I wanted to cast on as soon as I was coming back, but as I was fiddling around to find a way to knit the double layer cowl, the Gingham cowl, I spent quite some time figuring out how I can arrange, and in the 3D I arrange my work and my process and the way I knit, and it took me some time, so I did not cast on, and I will do that right after. Okay, so that's it for today. That's the second time for me. I'm not sure I'm gonna want to go through my life updates once again, because when I went to see my mother, some things are good, some things are not quite good, and she was so sad after I left. I spent a week with her. So yes, she was very happy to see me knit, and she was very sad to see me go. I'm gonna go see her next summer again, and I'm gonna spend some time with her, and I'm looking forward to that. And as I think it was Rosemary who said that to me, I'm making memories with her, and going to the Mohair farm was one of these memories, and there were others along the way. We went to took her to a restaurant, and we did things, but she can't stand up for a long time. She can be up for a long time. She can't do things for over 15 minutes, half hour, and at the restaurant in half hour we had the whole course was gone, and she wanted to go home. So we went back home, and I'm very happy I spent that time with her. And that's also what I told her, is what I tell you every time, that my little stitches bring me joy and happiness every day, every time I knit. And it took me out of a dark spot where I was 5 years ago, and I did a burnout at work, and knitting helped me out. So one stitch at a time. And I do hope knitting helps you out too, one stitch at a time. In particular, when everything is dark around you, that these little stitches spark joy and happiness, and that my videos help you also find joy and happiness during your day, because you do bring me a lot of joy and happiness when you comment down below, when we interact, and I love that. And that's the whole purpose of this video series. Of course, is making me accountable for what I do and sharing it with you, but you are the reason why I am here, and I thank you so very much for that. And I will see you next time.